Hello, everyone. Welcome to Broken English Club podcast.
So I want you to picture this. It is June 22nd, 1986.
Okay.
You are in Mexico City, right?
Yeah.
Inside the massive Estadio Azteca.
Right.
And you are completely surrounded by like 114,000 screaming people. The air is thick. It's this mixture of smog and high altitude, and it's just heavy.
Oh, yeah, that sweltering midday heat.
Exactly. The kind of heat that physically presses down on your shoulders. And you look down at the playing pitch, and I mean, it is an absolute disaster.
A mess.
Yeah, it's barely even a football field. It's this patchwork of loose, dry turf and exposed dirt that the groundskeepers had, just hastily thrown together a few days prior.
Yeah, not exactly a pristine surface for the World Cup.
Definitely not. It is not a pitch made for beautiful flowing football, and it's certainly not made for history.
Okay.
But, well, history doesn't really care about the conditions, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Because on that terrible, uneven dirt, a 5'5" man is about to become both a notorious, totally unapologetic cheat and undisputed, breathtaking genius.
Yeah.
And the crazy part, he's going to achieve both of those titles within the span of exactly 4 minutes.
I mean, it really remains one of unbelievable contradictory sequences in the history of modern sports, period.
It totally is.
Mm-hmm.
And that sequence is our mission for today's deep dive. We've got our hands on this fantastic historical and biographical narrative, and we're extracting the incredible, deeply complicated story of Diego Armando Maradona.
Yes.
Our mission here is to figure out how a nation's profound pain, one single man's burning ambition, and the sheer, almost impossible beauty of a game all collided at the exact same moment to create sports history.
Right.
Okay, let's unpack this, because to understand those 4 minutes in Mexico City,
Yeah.
we really have to start by understanding the man who orchestrated them.
Yeah, and before we jump into the timeline, it's really crucial to set the lens for you listening right now, because this deep dive isn't just a sports recap.
Right.
Honestly, you don't even need to understand the offside rule to get something profound out of this. This is a character study.
100%.
We are looking at a man who embodied the most extreme contradictions imaginable. So as we trace his story, I'm going to challenge you to hold two entirely opposing ideas about a single person in your head at the same time.
Which is not easy to do.
No, but Maradona forces us to redefine how we view our heroes.
Right. And that duality, it didn't just appear out of nowhere. It was forged in, like, pure survival mode.
Yeah.
So the year is 1960, and Diego Maradona is born into Villa Fiorito, which is a deeply impoverished shanty town on the outskirts of Buenos Aires.
Yeah.
And the environment was just brutal. We're talking unpaved dirt roads and a one-room shack with a tin roof and dirt floors.
Wow.
Yeah, and when it rained, the water would pour directly through the cracks in the roof right onto the mattresses where he and his siblings slept. No electricity, no running water.
Which is just so hard to even imagine.
Right. He was the fifth of 8 kids. His dad worked grueling hours in a factory grinding corn, and dinners were, frequently nothing more than bread and water.
Total grinding poverty. But from the time he was 3 years old, when his uncle gave him a leather football, he he discovered an escape hatch.
Yeah.
Our source material actually notes that this ball became an extension of his anatomy. He slept with it, he ate with it.
He never let it go.
Literally. And he kicked it against the walls of that tiny tin shack so relentlessly, like for so many hours a day, that his mother complained the walls actually started to crack under the repetitive impact.
Wait, really? He compromised the structural integrity of his house with a football.
He really did.
That is insane. And, by age 8, the local community knew they were witnessing an anomaly. Like, a local scout saw him score 4 goals on a dirt field. And the stark reality of his economic situation, it's really highlighted by the fact that his dad had to borrow shoes just so Diego could attend the official tryout.
Just to get in the door.
Exactly. And then he makes his professional debut for Argentinos Juniors at just 15 years old. He was 10 days away from his 16th birthday. And immediately, the stadium is just chanting his name.
Well, the connection between his foot and the ball, it was almost supernatural. Like the ball never seemed to bounce away from him. It just stayed tethered to his left foot as if magnetized.
Right, which actually brings up an anecdote from the source that I think perfectly encapsulates his mindset.
Oh, the youth team won.
Yes. So when Maradona was 12, he was playing for this youth team called the Little Onions. And before a match, the coach is barking orders telling everyone to warm up, stretch, run laps.
As you do.
Right. But Diego ignores all of it. He just sits on his football. So coach marches over, demands to know why he isn't warming up, and 12-year-old Diego looks up and says, quote, "The ball does the work. I just guide it."
The confidence of a 12-year-old to say that.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Source material later tries to draw this grand moralistic lesson from his life that, talent alone is not enough. And I kind of have to push back hard on that conclusion. Well, wait, didn't his entire childhood prove that raw, unfiltered talent actually is enough at the beginning? I mean, he was like a jazz musician who never needed to practice scales because he could just feel the music in his bones.
Oh, I like that comparison.
The instrument was just a conduit for what was already inside his head.
Yeah, the jazz analogy is incredibly apt for his early years. Raw, improvisational talent is exactly what got him out of the dirt of Villa Fiorito.
Right.
But the source's broader point, and really the brutal reality of the world at large, is that pure talent eventually runs into a wall of external friction. It gets tested by systems it just can't control. So by the time he's 21, he moves to Barcelona for a world record transfer fee. And that is where his pure jazz-like talent met absolute systemic chaos.
The Spanish league was tough, right?
Very. It was highly physical, and he suffers a horrific broken ankle from a malicious tackle. Then he contracts hepatitis, which sidelines him for months. And on top of that, the internal club politics were just exhausting. The pressure and the rigid structure completely crushed his confidence. So he's sold in 1984.
So he goes looking for a different environment, and he ends up in Napoli, down in southern Italy, for another world record fee of 6.9 million pounds.
Yep.
And at the time, the press was calling him damaged goods. They claimed he was an overpriced, broken investment. But when you look at the socioeconomic dynamics of Italy, it actually makes perfect sense.
How do you mean?
He essentially went looking for another Villa Fiorito, just on a macro scale.
Right.
Naples was a very poor city. Unemployment was hovering over 20%. The infrastructure was crumbling.
Right.
And the rich, industrialized north of Italy, cities like Milan and Turin, they constantly mocked the South. They even went so far as to derisively call Naples, quote, Africa.
Wow.
Yeah, the people of Naples felt totally humiliated and discarded by their own country.
So they needed a savior, and Maradona needed a chip on his shoulder. When this short, damaged, fiercely proud kid from a dirt shack in Argentina arrived, the city of Naples just saw themselves in him. He wasn't the polished corporate athlete that the northern clubs favored. He was rough, emotional, and defiant.
And he completely weaponized that defiance.
Right.
In 1987, he leads Napoli to their first ever Serie A title, single-handedly breaking the northern monopoly on Italian football.
Which was huge.
Huge. The climax was this incredible final match against Fiorentina, where he steps up and hits a bending free kick right over the wall, straight into the top corner.
The mechanics of that shot were flawless.
Flawless, but the cultural impact was earth-shattering. The city of Naples absolutely exploded. I mean, they literally painted the streets blue. They named an entire generation of babies Diego.
He became a living deity there.
He really did. The source even details how the local Camorra, like the Neapolitan mafia, respected him so deeply that one boss declared Maradona was, quote, like a son to them.
That really says it all. He had resurrected a city, culturally and spiritually. But, carrying the hopes of a marginalized city is one thing. What happens next requires him to carry the immense traumatic grief of an entire nation.
Right, because the pressure of Naples was confined to city limits. But what happened in Mexico City, that was the pressure of an entire wounded country. So we have to rewind 4 years to 1982 and the Falklands War, or as it's known in Argentina, Las Malvinas.
Yes.
And I just want to pause here and explicitly state to you listening, as we look at this, we have to look at it strictly through a historical lens.
Mm-hmm.
We are absolutely removing our own modern politics or views on the territorial claims or the concept.
Exactly. We are not taking sides here.
Right, because for the purpose of this deep dive, what matters is simply the psychological reality of the Argentine people at that exact moment. They were grieving.
Yes. This was a 74-day war between Argentina and the United Kingdom over a group of windswept rocky islands situated about 300 miles off the Argentine coast.
And the human cost was just terrible.
It was devastating. 649 Argentine soldiers and 255 British soldiers died. And many of the Argentine casualties were just teenagers, like 19 or 20 years old, thrust into a freezing, brutal conflict.
Right. And the psychological devastation in Argentina went far beyond the military defeat. There was this Deep, lingering pain, a profound loss of national dignity, and this heavy, suffocating feeling of a small country being utterly humiliated by a global superpower.
Right.
The war was only 4 years prior to the 1986 World Cup. So the wound wasn't just fresh, it was still actively bleeding in the national consciousness. And as fate would have it, the tournament draw placed Argentina and England against each other in the quarterfinal.
One of Maradona's teammates, Jorge Valdano, actually articulated the weight of that specific match perfectly. He noted, quote, "We were aware we would not bring back the dead of the Falklands War, but we were aware we would bring some happiness." Yeah. If we connect this to the bigger picture, this wasn't just a football match. It was viewed inside the Argentine locker room and in living rooms across Buenos Aires as a chance for symbolic revenge. It was a 90-minute window to reclaim some lost dignity on a global stage.
And that feeling of carrying a wounded nation's pride, I mean, that is the exact invisible backpack Maradona was wearing when he stepped onto that terrible, patchy dirt pitch in the Estadio Azteca.
The pressure must have been unbearable.
So the geopolitical pressure cooker is set. The first half is a tense, brutal, physical stalemate, 0-0. The English team is incredibly strong and disciplined. They're anchored by Gary Lineker, the tournament's top scorer, and a massive 6'1" goalkeeper named Peter Shilton. It just feels like neither side is going to break.
Then the 51st minute arrives.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. An English midfielder, Steve Hodge, awkwardly intercepts a pass and accidentally loops the ball high up into the air, backward toward his own goal.
Which is a huge mistake.
Massive mistake. Now, picture the physical mismatch here. Peter Shilton is a 6'1" goalie who can legally use his hands and arms to reach the ball. Maradona's 5'5".
Right.
That's an 8-inch height difference, plus the massive advantage of a goalkeeper's reach.
Logic dictates the goalkeeper easily punches that ball clear or just catches it.
Right, but Maradona doesn't operate on logic. He operates on sheer defiant will. So he sprints into the penalty box, launches himself into the air alongside the giant Shilton, and realizing he absolutely cannot win this contest with his head, well, he resorts to deception.
He goes for it.
He literally punches the ball into the net with his left hand. The way he does it is brilliant. It's like a magician's sleight of hand, but performed midair in front of 100,000 people.
It's crazy.
He uses the movement of his head as the misdirection, tucking his fist right next to his ear, and he sells the header so perfectly with his body language that the referee's brain simply fills in the blank and assumes the hand wasn't there.
Yeah, the Tunisian referee, Ali bin Nasser, and the Bulgarian linesman both completely miss the infringement. The goal is awarded.
Just like that.
Yep. And the English players, particularly defender Terry Butcher, are apoplectic. They are screaming, pointing at their own hands, furiously protesting the blatant fraud, but the decision stands.
It's like successfully pulling off a massive brazen bank heist in broad daylight.
Exactly. Maradona even has to aggressively gesture to his teammates, begging them to come celebrate with him so the referee doesn't sense their hesitation and get suspicious.
Oh my gosh.
And he later drops the most famous quote in sports history, telling reporters the goal was scored, quote, "a little with the head of Maradona and a little with the hand of God."
The hand of God. It is an incredibly brazen act of theft on the world's biggest stage. It just defies belief. But what happens just 4 minutes later defies physics.
The 55th minute.
So the English team is boiling with righteous anger. They are out for blood. Maradona receives the ball near the halfway line in his own half, about 60 yards away from the English goal, and he starts to run. Here we go.
In exactly 10 seconds, he beats 5 outfield players. But the mechanics of how he does it are what make it genius. Because of his 5'5" frame, he has this incredibly low center of gravity.
Right.
He's taking dozens of micro touches. He touches the ball on almost every single stride, keeping it permanently tethered to his left foot. He reads the defender's hips, waiting for them to commit their weight to one side, and the millisecond they do, he shifts the opposite way.
It's mesmerizing.
He spins past Peter Beardsley, accelerates away from Peter Reed, turns Terry Butcher inside out. And Butcher actually tried to brutally hack him down, but later said Maradona was, quote, "like water, impossible to grasp."
Like water. That's perfect.
He fakes out Terry Fenwick, and finally, he's face-to-face with Peter Shilton again. He drops his shoulder, fakes left, Shilton goes down, Maradona goes right, and slots the ball into the empty net.
Incredible. Gary Lineker, the English striker who was watching this unfold from the other end of the pitch, later admitted that as the ball hit the back of the net, he actually felt the overwhelming urge to applaud. Wait, the guy whose team was robbed blind just 4 minutes prior wants to give a standing ovation to the man who robbed him.
Yes, it is universally known as the goal of the century.
Unbelievable.
What's fascinating here is the sheer duality contained within those 4 minutes. In the 51st minute, you witness the ultimate act of cynical, street-smart cheating.
Right?
And then in the 55th minute, you witness the ultimate act of pure athletic supremacy. It's as if he had to steal something from the gods just to prove to the world that he belonged among them.
Wow.
There is a very telling quote from Maradona reflecting on that second goal. He claimed he only made that historic 60-yard solo run because he kept looking up for a teammate to pass to, but he couldn't find any space, so he just kept running.
Wow, that's such a metaphor.
It is. When the world closes in, when the options disappear, just put your head down and keep running forward.
But, when you run at that kind of manic, God-defying pace for a decade, constantly needing friction and chaos to survive, physics and psychology dictate a massive crash.
Yeah, they do.
You can't carry a nation's trauma, constantly break the rules, and live at that fever pitch without eventually collapsing. And the collapse was devastating.
It was a steep, painful fall. The very environment that elevated him in Naples eventually suffocated him. The pressure of being a literal deity meant he couldn't leave his house without being mobbed.
Which has to be exhausting.
Totally. That extreme isolation breeds profound loneliness, and loneliness often breeds addiction. By 1991, he fails a drug test for cocaine in Italy and is banned from football for 15 months. The cameras catch him leaving the stadium in tears, his face twisted with a mixture of shame and exhaustion.
And he attempts a comeback for the 1994 World Cup. He scores a brilliant goal against Greece, runs to the sideline, and screams into the television camera with these wild, unnerving, manic eyes.
I remember seeing that.
4 days later, he fails another drug test, this time for ephedrine, and is sent home in absolute disgrace. His life off the pitch becomes entirely consumed by intense addiction. His weight balloons to over 200 pounds, and his body gives out to the point where he requires emergency heart surgery.
It's so sad.
It is. He was a beautiful, untouchable genius on the grass, but a completely tragic mess everywhere else.
Yet, amidst all that self-destruction and chaos, there remained a profound, almost childlike humanity to him.
Yeah, the source shares a surprisingly tender detail that just blew my mind. In 2015, nearly 30 years after the Mexico '86 World Cup, Maradona traveled all the way to Tunisia.
Really?
Yeah. He specifically went to the home of Ali bin Nasser, the referee who missed the Hand of God handball. He brought him a signed Argentina jersey, embraced him, and called him his eternal friend.
Oh.
The referee admitted he thought Maradona had headed it, that he was waiting for the linesman to flag if there was a problem. But they didn't harbor any resentment, they just embraced. Two men whose lives were bound forever by one split-second, highly controversial mistake on a dusty pitch.
This raises an important question, doesn't it? Like, how do we actually judge our heroes? Our source material distills some incredibly poignant lessons from his life, but they push past the standard motivational tropes.
Right.
The real insight here isn't just about perseverance. It's the uncomfortable truth that absolute greatness and miserable failure can, and often do, coexist in the exact same person.
Yeah, you are judged by your best and your worst moments.
Yeah.
You don't get the goal of the century without the hand of God. They stem from the exact same defiant impulse.
Exactly. Another critical lesson is about the mechanics of inner drive. In the 1990 World Cup final, Maradona played the match on an ankle so severely swollen he could barely force his foot into his boot, let alone sprint against elite defenders.
I can't even imagine that pain.
Right, but he still created his team's only real scoring chances. That wasn't the raw improvisational talent of a jazz musician anymore. That was pure, sheer, agonizing will.
And the broader takeaway, the one that resonates far beyond sports, is that the real insight here isn't just to, make do with a bad pitch. It's that Maradona's genius actually required chaos.
Yes.
He couldn't operate in a sterile, perfect environment. The dirt pitch in Mexico City, the agonizing heat, the suffocating geopolitical tension, those weren't obstacles to his greatness. They were the absolute fuel for it. He achieved the impossible precisely because the conditions were terrible.
Just like he did when he was kicking a ball against a cracking tin wall at 8 years old.
Exactly. Diego Maradona died November 2020 at the age of 60.
Yeah.
His heart, the same heart that carried the joy, the deep trauma, the genius, and the profound flaws of an entire nation, finally just gave out. Oh, and you know that English midfielder? Steve Hodge. The guy whose botched clearance loop led directly to the hand of God.
Yes, the one who inadvertently set the stage.
Yeah. After the game, amidst all the fury and the geopolitical tension, Hodge actually asked Maradona to swap shirts in the tunnel.
No way.
Yeah. And he kept that sweaty blue number 10 jersey in a bank vault for decades. A few years ago, that single piece of fabric sold at auction for over £7 million.
Wow.
It's a testament to the sheer, enduring weight of that one 90-minute match. So what does this all mean? I want to ask you, the person listening right now. You might be waiting for the perfect sterile conditions in your own life, waiting for the right weather, the right bank account balance, the perfectly manicured pitch before you finally start your project or chase your goal.
Right.
Maradona proved that history does not care about your conditions. Greatness doesn't require a pristine environment. Take action today, even if you are standing on a patchwork pitch of dirt.
I love that. And I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to mull over, something that bridges the history we've discussed with the modern world. Imagine if that 1986 quarterfinal against England happened this afternoon. Today, we have VAR, the video assistant referee.
Oh, right.
We have high-definition, super slow-motion replays from 30 different camera angles constantly monitoring the pitch. The hand of God would be instantly spotted by a technician in a booth.
They catch it immediately.
Exactly. The game would immediately stop, the goal would be disallowed, and Maradona would likely be given a yellow card for deliberate deception. It would be perfectly technologically fair.
Yeah.
But if that fraud is instantly erased by a computer screen, if the defiance is immediately sterilized, does Maradona ever get fueled by the chaotic, manic energy required to score the goal of the century just 4 minutes later?
Wow.
If we obsess over perfect technological fairness in our modern arenas, do we accidentally rob ourselves of the messy, deeply flawed human mythology that creates our legends in the first place?
Does erasing the cheat also erase the genius? That is such a fascinating point. Something to think about the next time you find yourself on a patchwork pitch of dirt and grass, feeling the heat, wondering if you should make a run for it. Keep diving deep into the things that made you curious, everyone. We will see you next time.